I'm particularly interested in recording this in the interest of posterity in case something comes up with real life issues, but overall this is stuff I wanted to say regardless. I hadn't figured out before what to say about the Vic Mignogna situation given what had happened with the September 6th hearing mess, but I do now thanks to one factor. Sean Schemmel getting unproven accusations of assault. For those who aren't aware, likely from living under a rock, Sean Schemmel is the dubbed voice actor of none other than Goku in Dragon Ball Kai and Super. That he's getting hit by the very accusations he supported when they were sent in Vic Mignogna's direction is going to make sure that this becomes very big amidst Dragon Ball Super's popularity. There's no way this will get ignored any longer. This is where I become happy, because I can say that yes, due process should be given to Sean Schemmel. False accusations in general are simply that stupid for inducing more and more paranoia, so fighting back against them would at least make it much clearer. This does of course bear in mind that no, Sean Schemmel is not suddenly deserving of sympathy. I still hold to the notion that he's a case of nice character mean actor for his fake swattings and his fan bashing. In fact, I feel the fan bashing itself is why Vic went ahead with the lawsuit in general. I know what happens with discrimination. Anything resembling support toward a target is grounds for being equally bashed upon. Vic Mignogna, as the voice of Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist since the first anime aired, is rich enough to throw off discrimination. You can't expect the rest of his fanbase to have that luxury. Meanwhile, if Sean Schemmel is guilty of the accusations toward this person, he's a hypocrite for his support of the unproven ones toward Vic Mignogna. Really, even if Vic himself was basically mad on guard, that does nothing to change how his opposition are anything but saints themselves. If Vic really was guilty, then people like Jamie Marchi should never have tried to evade court summons. Jamie Marchi proved with that how she has either something to hide or a flat-out lack of respect for the legal system, or perhaps both. That alone should have had Marchi grilled on the stand, not dismissed so quickly on lack of evidence. Yet Vic will keep believing that Judge Chupp is somehow credible, despite issues like Funimation preventing people from unsubscribing in an effort to scam any potential boycotters and protesting Marchi's solicitation of violence. Or better yet, Vic waited close enough to 3 months before launching the lawsuit, and I would be far from surprised if he did so as a response to seeing fans of him getting attacked by Vic. Vic gave his opposition more than enough time to launch their own lawsuit, so here's my question. Where's the evidence that would have made that feasible? Fact of the matter is, Vic doesn't care about the truth. If they did, they certainly would see points like how Texas's legal system thinks the perfectly legitimate response to mass shootings is to legalize murder. Instead, what they are happy to do is try to censor anybody who even cares about the middle ground, let alone say anything positive about Vic Mignogna. Lucario, the moderator of the Anime Superhero Forum, did this, as I outlined before. Again, there is simply no excuse to delete a length post that chews out dove-added chauvinism, and especially not when the attempt at an excuse is simply for talking about Vic Mignogna. And like Lucario, if you are listening to this, don't even think of playing the victim, especially not after your unsportsmanlike gloating. I know how feminazis like you work, because I sure as hell have a lifetime experience with that mess. You never care what the other side of the story is like. You only care to maliciously harass whoever you want, and then claim that they harass you. All because you only care to see them as a thorn in your side for whatever arbitrary reason, because all you really care about is having power to get drunk off of, and you exploit any confirmation bias you can for that end. You only ever believe in condemnation and never redemption, so here's to you seeing how that goes the hard way. The worst part about this is some stuff I do want to mention on the other side of the fence. Ultimately, I Stand With Vic is still a show that the term lesser of two evils is a relative term, and they can say some very drunk things. Particularly infuriating me right now is their overly aggressive defense of an anime called Fire Force. They basically tell those calling Fire Force out for the way it treats the primary female as eye candy fan service that just shut up about this. So we're telling the kids to think that tasteless humor toward the opposite sex is okay. How about this? No! Females are people too, and their gender is already something they're born with, something they have little control over. Why make it worse just for some dishonest pleasure? There are already people like the authors of the cross-assault incident who don't even care to own up about it. But of course, this complaint about Fire Force and its objectifying of women in the interest of pleasure would seem bog standard at this point. Why bring it up? Well, the Fire Force broken base would really explode with its 9th episode. Apparently the situation there is really serious and dark. I don't know, I don't even watch Fire Force because I'm turned off from considering giving it a chance well before boycotting Toonami in general for this entire mess with Vic Mignogna. I actually forget the exact reason why, but I do know what certainly doesn't help is the protagonist's nervous smile. Yeah, call it nervous when he's wearing that smile while looking at a female with inadequately covering clothing. But oh wait, I shouldn't judge a book by its cover anyway. So I took a look at a particularly complained about scene in episode 9, one where apparently the female lead has her clothes arbitrarily burned off in a serious situation. And for reference, she's clearly not somebody who becomes happy about showing off her stuff. I took a look at the scene in question to see if they're right, and you wanna know what really gets to me with it? It's that the protagonist did get in the way of the attack that did this. Only for the attack that hit only the female lead and thus burn off her clothing. So we had the concept of an attack hitting only the intended target and deliberately getting around an intended blocker with no in-universe explanation as to why. This concept was already stupid in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, when Rant tried to do a taking the bullet heroic sacrifice against the mobile armor, only for a city, only for the involved shot to just swerve around right arbitrarily and hit only the city anyway. But at least there the intent is clearly to deconstruct the involvement of plot armor tropes. Even if Iron-Blooded Orphans gets so bad about the exact opposite problem that it makes clear that Rustal Alien is just a smug, cheating piece of garbage nobody in their right minds would call magnificent, and I'm left unsurprised about Wright breaking down into tears when Nervid hugs him in the finale. Here in Fire Force, yeah, we gotta have a fan service in a serious situation! For God's sake, if you must involve female body stuff, do it for something in better taste, not for trash entertainment. The gender division is completely tiring, and when it happens because of the likes of the cross-assault of scum claiming that females are nothing but baby factories or pleasure factories, the infighting is inevitably from females having a point. Of course, the unfair sex shouldn't be left off the hook either. They have failed to show their own worth. Targets of persecution are supposed to prove why they're worth the trouble of protecting from prejudice, but the unfair sex are instead more interested in proving they just want power for its own sake, without any sense of actual effort or morality. I can even point out that there was something I would have wanted at the end of August to show the light Lucario, but her arrogance about the September 6th hearing idiocy gave me second thoughts about the idea to where I become stupidly glad I was lax about handling the idea. And the only reason I even mention about the idea at all is simply because Kickback has been dealt a moral Mortensmort thanks to what had happened with Sean Schemmel. Really, that's the summary. The unfair sex indulges in hubris, which is why they've been trying to build an empire founded on hate, fear-mongering, and betrayal. Of course, now those walls will come tumbling down, a saddening inevitability, but one that happens when people like me don't have what we think ever mattered from the start. And I know what both sides will do with this rant. They'll only be interested in putting me on blast just for chewing them out. My response will simply be to say, so what's new? Really, these people just want any excuse they can to think they're blameless, never caring in the least about self-improvement. They're not going to listen. They never do.